So I'm willing to make a prediction right now, and it's that you are having trouble catching bass wherever you live because, well, it's cold. But one thing that I know is true all across the world is that when it gets cold, bass fishing as a whole gets tougher. Those same areas where you once were able to throw reaction baits like a spinnerbait, a chatterbait, topwaters, those lures just don't work anymore. And if you're new to bass fishing, you might wonder why? What changed with the fish? What changed with their environment that causes them not to eat the same lures and causes them to not be in the same exact locations? In this video, I'm gonna break down for you guys my #1 lure when it comes to consistently catching bass in colder water temps, and of course, show you guys tons of on-the-water fish catches of me putting this into practice. My name's Tyler, and let's talk about it. Well, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Tyler's Reel Fishing. My goal here on this channel is to help you guys become better bass anglers. So if you want to catch more fish, hit that subscribe button. We are all about learning here on this channel. I sympathize right along with you guys who are struggling to catch bass right now. That the winter time, those cold water temps, fishing gets tough. And so what the heck do you do in order to consistently catch bass, or at least give yourself a better opportunity to catch those finicky bass? And the lure that I use for that is the one called the drop shot. The drop shot is a fantastic lure. I throw it all year round, if I'm being totally honest, but when it comes to fishing ponds, lakes, rivers, and streams, anything, all of the above, a drop shot, in my experience, is really the only one I reach to in the wintertime. Yes, I throw other lures depending on the body of water and situation, but there's only one that I always have rigged up in my truck for pond hopping or on my boat deck for bass boat fishing, and that is the drop shot. Now, a short kind of overview of what the drop shot is it's not your typical bass lure. Typical bass lures are connected from your fishing line directly to the lure with the hooks on the lure and nothing else involved. So your Texas rigs, your crankbaits, your topwaters. But with a drop shot, the weight on the lure is actually at the end of your line, and your lure, your soft plastic here with the hook on it, is actually up the line from the weight. So if you're a brand new bass angler, you've never heard of a drop shot, this is what it looks like in the water column. The weight falls all the way to the bottom. You have some determined amount of line here called your leader line, and then you have your lure. So when it sits in the water like this and you shake it, the lure is actually not on the bottom, it is up in the water column. For those fish that are suspended, as we'll talk about in the wintertime, the fish do a lot of suspending. So a drop shot, in my experience, is one of the best lures, if not the only one you should be depending on for catching bass consistently this winter. Now, I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of rigging the drop shot because I have made 2 fantastic videos talking about kind of drop shot 101. I will leave them linked in the video description below. Check those out and pause this video right now if you have not had any experience with the drop shot, or at least need some more confidence on how to do it correctly. Those videos are fantastic for that. But the thing I want to talk about in this video, and the reason why I think it's, at least doing this correctly, is essential to catching bass in those colder water situations, is by not actually working this thing a whole lot. You know, one of the things that I see people consistently do wrong with the drop shot is they overwork the drop shot. So when you're hopping a jig, a Texas rig, or moving a reaction bait back, usually it's not a bad idea to kind of take your rod tip as you're working it and give it some, aggressive big hops or jerks like a jerk bait. With a drop shot though, that's not the way it's intended to be used, and as those water temperatures drop, the fish get more lethargic, their blood flows slower. They can actually, I don't know if that's scientific. Let me know if blood flows slower on cold fish. I think it does. And when that happens, the fish don't move as far, they don't move as fast, and they don't feed as often. And so by fishing the same lures you were, the same size lures often at the same cadence and speed, you're not always going to have success because those bass need something, just like your a Thanksgiving meal. And you're sitting there, you've been fed a whole lot. Those bass have been fed all fall. You have just eaten the whole Thanksgiving meal, and they finally bring out the pumpkin pie, the pecan pie, and you're thinking, do I have to go to the kitchen to get it? No, you don't want to go to the kitchen. You want grandma to bring the pie to the table, serve it on a plate for you, and all you got to do is sit there nice and plump and scoop the pecan pie into your mouth. That's exactly what's going on with these fish to a slightly different degree. These fish in the winter, I don't care if you're in a pond like I am here or a bigger reservoir, those bass don't want to move a whole lot to get the lure, and oftentimes if your lure, if the prey is moving a whole lot, it can actually kind of turn those fish off to where they don't want to eat your lure. It kind of forces them to look at it and be like, well, that thing's moving around a lot. I don't know if I want to exert a lot of energy to chase it down and eat it. But if you let that drop shot sink down there and just kind of slowly hop it off the bottom, maybe let it sink for 5-10 seconds, slowly move it up. Oftentimes, if you get this around some fish, the slower presentation will cause those fish to bite. Let's go with ponds, for example. If you are fishing a pond anywhere south of like Missouri, I'd say you're still gonna have some aquatic vegetation living in your ponds. And now that I think about it, underneath the ice in Minnesota, they also have grass. So you're still gonna have aquatic vegetation somewhere in your ponds if that's available to you. A drop shot's the best way to do that and not get your lure stuck or have some of that slime. You know, as that grass dies, it becomes less healthy. It becomes oftentimes kind of mushy and gross. And so a lure with an exposed hook or a heavier lure that gets down in that vegetation can just present your lure in a way the fish do not want to eat it. And so a drop shot with the weight below and the lure above is a perfect way to present it above that aquatic vegetation in a place where, like I said, it's appealing to the fish. And one thing about the drop shot that makes it amazing for cold water is that it's almost impossible to work this thing fast. Of course, I guess you could cast it out there, have no clue what you're doing, and just retrieve it straight back in. That would be the wrong way to do things. But as long as you have the right rod for your drop shot, it's almost hard to do this thing wrong. You cast it out there, you're gonna see in the videos after this where I show you guys on the water, me working this lure and catching cold water fish on it, because trust me, it was cold here last week. The less that you move the drop shot in the wintertime oftentimes is the better, and having the right rod for that is incredibly necessary. I'm not saying you can't throw a drop shot on a bait caster, you can. And I'm not saying you can't throw the drop shot on a medium heavy or a heavy action spinning rod, because again, you can. But when it comes to the rod, I'm gonna talk about the rod here. This is the Lew's KVD rod. It is a 7-foot medium light. I throw all of my drop shots all the time, 365, on a medium light rod. And the reasoning for that is that softer tip of that rod, and really the softer bend of the entire rod, causes that lure to not move as much when I move the rod tip. So if we're looking at the drop shot here and it's sitting on the ground or on the bottom of the lake, the drop shot is up in the air. A heavy action rod, well, of course, without as much bend in that rod tip, any sort of movement you make to it, there's not as much give to the main line, and so it's going to move that drop shot more, especially with those small little jerks. But if you make a small little jerk with a medium light spinning rod, that tip is really soft. It almost has some give in that line, not giving the line, give in the rod tip. So you can get away with moving the rod tip a little more and still having the drop shot worm, bait, whatever you're going to use here on the drop shot, not be moved as much. It just really helps to have the right rod for the drop shot, and I talk about that in a lot more detail in my drop shot video. Again, I will have it linked in the video description. And now a quick overview on the gear that I'm using in this video before we hop out there on the water. The two worms that I generally use on my drop shot, and I say worms because in the wintertime, I live in Texas, I don't usually smallmouth fish. We only have a few lakes here in Texas that actually have a consistent smallmouth bite. So the two worms that I use are for largemouth bass and spotted bass. They're going to be the KVD Perfect Plastic Finesse Worm. I believe this is the 5-inch finesse worm. And then I use the Super Finesse Worm, which is actually made with the Elastec material. It's a combination between Z-Man and Strike King. And what I do with this one, if I'm fishing for, you know, bigger largemouth bass, maybe fish that aren't as pressured, I'll throw the full finesse worm on a 2/0 wide gap hook here on my drop shot. Oftentimes though, I'm taking that full finesse worm and I'm actually gonna cut about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off of it. And the difference between these two worms is that this one, Elastec, has almost no salt in it, and the composition of this causes it to completely float in the water column. So if I throw this out in the pond right now, it will not sink. But a traditional soft plastic like this one here with a lot of salt, this will sink. Now the colors for my worm are almost always going to be natural colors, hardly ever throw a non-natural. The purple that I have here is actually a pretty translucent purple, and then it's either watermelon red or green pumpkin. Those three for me are my mainstays when it comes to drop shot colors. The line that I use for all my spinning rod applications, and specifically the drop shot, is 15-pound CR Smackdown braid. You can go down to 10-pound, but if you're pond fishing, you can get away with 15 or 20-pound, really any lighter line braid. To a 10 to 12 pound Seaguar fluorocarbon leader, I use Gold Label because it's what I use for those really, really pressured fish. It is thinner than your average fluorocarbon line is, but really any lighter fluorocarbon or monofilament line will work for your leader material. And as always, everything that I use in my videos is linked down there in the description, so please click those links before ordering your tackle. That helps me out a ton. And one last thing that I want to talk about is the difference between how air temperature and water temperature affect bass fishing. I get DMs almost every single day of people asking me, hey, the weather is this, what lure should I throw? And to be honest, that doesn't really matter. As you can tell from right now, it is 72 degrees outside. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but it has not been like that here in Texas. Here in North Dallas, we've had quite a few cold fronts that have dropped the water temperature in our lakes and especially in our ponds. So while my mindset right now and my body feels like it is early fall or mid-spring, and I can go out there and throw reaction baits and a lipless crankbait, and I can throw Texas rigs and swim baits and work them fast, that's probably not going to work even though the air temperature would dictate that, because the air temperature doesn't always match the water temperature. It's been cold here, so even though I feel great, the bass in the water are not as affected by the warm days. It would take a week of warm days like this to get the water back up and get those fish moving again to be not lethargic and eat faster retrieved lures. And if I know the previous weather, I know what those bass should do on today, regardless of if the weather today is how it has been in the past. So I hope this part of the video encouraged you guys. I say we head out there on the water, talk about working this drop shot extra slow for those lethargic winter bass, and of course, catch you guys some dang fish. We'll see you guys out there. How's it going, guys? Tyler Anderson here from Private Water Fishing here at beautiful Sandy Creek Ranch in Winnsboro, Texas. This property here has 3 different lakes, with the main lake even having a full concrete ramp that, believe it or not, was able to launch my 21-foot fiberglass bass boat. This property is awesome. For the few hours I was out here, the fishing was incredible. The bass fishing is awesome. There are some huge bluegill and shell crackers. And if y'all want to check out awesome, untouched private water fishing like this, make sure y'all head to privatewaterfishing.com. My name's Tyler. We'll see you guys out there. It depends. A good, 2 hours, 2.5. That's a fish. Yes, sir. Oh, wow. That one feels big. That one feels big. That one actually feels bigger. Oh, it's not big, but it's not small. That's awesome. Oh, chill out, buddy. Chill out. I knew that fishing a drop shot would get it done. Aha. So the drop shot gets it done. Absolutely. Beautiful fish. Got ourselves first little fish on the dream shot. Y'all may notice today that we got power pole photographer / videographer William Bean with us. Actually, my longest industry boss. A lot of the other guys have quit and companies left, whatever. Bean is consistent. Come up here, Bean. This is Bean, everybody. Hello. Bean is cool. And he saw the first fish on the drop shot. So y'all are gonna see plenty more fish catches today. I think, oh, I can't throw this away because we need slow-mo. So yes, you're gonna see me talking to his camera, y'all's camera. It's gonna be a fun time. He was just horrendous to the fan. Oh, oh gosh, oh gosh. Dang it. There he is. Thank you, buddy. Hey, you know what? Honestly, he was only 3 pounds. I'm glad he wasn't much larger because when I hooked him, he felt giant. Dang it. Here we go. Here we go. He's coming. Oh, come on. Yep. Got him. Haha. Oh, no way. Oh, it's not a bass. It's not a bass, everybody. Oh, you know what, folks? I have a feeling we're going to be making the old switch today. Oh my gosh, that right there is what I'm talking about, a big old slab crappie. No wonder I'm missing some bites. They can't quite get their mouth around it. That is a big crappie. I gotta find out if on this lake I can keep these, because if I can, we're having dinner. Oh no, it says not to harvest any crappie. Man, big time bummer, gotta let this guy go. That's okay though. There's one. That's big. That's big, whatever that is. Whatever that is. Come on, come on. What are you? What are you? Be a bass, be a bass, be a bass. Be a bass, be a... Oh, it is a bass! Let's go! Let's tank and go on the drop shot. Y'all, it is so important that when that cold front hits, to just be as slow as physically, humanly possible. That fish, I didn't get hopping it, didn't get swimming it. It was just sitting there. He swam over and picked it up. Let's go. Not a giant, but it's a nice one. Hard fighting fish, that's for sure. Oh, yes. Look at that stinking fish, everybody. Look at how he ate that. Down the hatch. Down the stinking hatch. And that right there, boys and girls, is a stinking cold front chunk. You'd love to see it. Oh, I gotta press my fish catcher. Here we go. 840 for the year. That crappie didn't count. That's fun though. As I've told you guys before, fish get cold just like us. So why would you keep fishing fast, keep fishing the same stuff? Where they want it slow. Oh gosh, dang it, he pulled off. Man, I should have given him even more time with that. Didn't even feel a bite. It wasn't even a nibble. Just, oh, there's weight there. Okay. Oh yes, there's one. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. That's a good one too. That's a good chunky dunk right there, folks. On the drop shot. Come on. Come on. Oh, it's windy. I'm sorry. I apologize for the bad audio, folks. Bring yourself in here. What a chunk. What a little chunky dunk. Yes. Came right into my hands, boys and girls. Beautiful winter fish right there. Not winter, I should say fall. Feels like winter today, though. Whew. Thank you, buddy. And that's another click, 844. There's one. What do we got? What do we got? Feels like a bass. It is a bass. Hey, good stuff. Good stinking stuff. Bring it in here. Oh, my drag was too loose. There we go. All right, there's a boat flip a drop shot fish, boys and girls. Beautiful. Forgot to spot lock. I'll get back up there in a second. Boom. Got it right there. Add another one to the clicker. 845. There we go. Can you be bigger for me, please? Can you be big? Oh my gosh, he's taking off like a rocket. Gee. My gosh. Are you big? I don't think you're big. No, you're not. You're just a nice one. That's hard fighting. Good old American fish. Ah, yes. Man, does not get old catching these fish. It will never get old catching these fish right here. I'm so blessed to do what I do for a living. I get to catch bass for a living. Wow. Well, that is going to be the video, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you guys stayed all the way to the end, y'all are the best type of viewer out there. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you want to see a similar video talking about how to fish for more shallow cover bass when it gets really, really cold, I will leave that video linked right up here in the corner if y'all want to check that out. Again, thank y'all so much for watching. I would not have a job without you guys. Y'all are the absolute best. So, my name's Tyler. We'll see y'all next time right here on TRF.